All right, now we're gonna get into Hyliion, HYLN. It's a generator company now. It's not in the powertrain industry, but it's been doing a lot of exciting things. Again, right now, assets almost they have 328 million on assets. Liabilities only 22 million. So the net equity is 306 million. Shares outstanding 183 million. And so when you do the net equity fair value, it's about $1.67. And what's interesting is before the new year, it announced that it was going to start doing a share buyback. It has about 300 million in cash on hand, so they're going to spend 20 million on share buybacks. They're trying to regain compliance. They went under $1. You know, I told my community, hey, I believe in this company. I'm buying some shares in the 50-cent range, which I did. I bought shares within the 50 to 90-cent range, and now it's sitting at about $1.30. All right. And so before I get into the gematria, I want to get into some of the things they've been talking about. So with their KARNO power generator, they now have a flare gas contract. All right. They have a fair flare gas contract with one of the gas Permian Basin companies. They're doing EV charging stations with another company, and they're working with the Navy right now as well. And so they're trying to get contracts under their belt. And somebody on StockTwits, Maui Boy, he's kind of a spammer, but I felt like this was a great analyst from him. Felt like this was a great analyst from him. He says, forgot about the shares to General Electric. 183 million shares outstanding, 27% owned by Hyliion, 23% owned by institutions, 10.96% buyback of company 20 million shares, and 12% of General Electric, that's 22 million shares. Total shares owned by insiders, 153 million. Total shares owned by insiders is 73% of total shares. Total shares owned by common people, 29.25 million. And so if everybody of the common people own 50,000 shares, that's less than 600 people. And so there's really not a whole lot of open shares out there for Hyliion, which should help move the stock up with such a restricted float. All right. And then at the bottom, you can see right now they only spent $37,000 worth for their share repurchases. So they still have 99.9% of their share buyback dry powder that they're going to be using. So we're sitting at $1.30 right now. Imagine over the course of a year when they just keep piling money in for the buyback. $2 is going to be a breeze. It's not going to happen overnight, but if they start getting those contracts in, then that's when the price is really going to start to move in a very big way. And then another thing, we talked about the Navy. So they said, we plan to assume a government contract with the United States Office of Naval Research that is not expected to have material impact on our business. We plan to seek additional government contracts in the future and may reassess the classification of such contracts as revenue-based business strategy. So I don't know how you would take it. How I would take it is they're allowing the U.S. Naval Research Office to use the KARNO to do testing with it, to see what they could use with it. But then if they like what they see and like what they saw from using it, that will open up the military door for all of the different branches. That's how I said it. So how they worded it, they're saying, you know, there's no contract right now with the Navy, but it will help the Navy out. We'll let them use it. And if all goes well, they will open up the door for all the other military. So that's going to be big. And when you start getting into the military, that's where the money is. And so for some gematria, we have Detmar Flare Gas KARNO Partnership, 333 English Ordinal. We have KARNO customer, 40% tax credit, which is nice. There's a 40% tax credit if a consumer buys it. So if a company buys the KARNO, they get up to 40% tax credit for write-offs. and Hyliion using level 2 money for funds, both equal 137 English reduction. Now, I bring up the money portion because when you look at their fair value measurements, all right, they have only 21 million in actual liquid cash. And that's level 1. That's easy liquid cash. They can pull that out at any moment. They have a lot of level 2 money, which is hold to maturity investments, commercial papers, U.S. government agency bonds, municipal bonds, corporate bonds, and like that. And now that's still relatively liquid, but not as liquid as just straight cash. And so that's why that share buyback is going to be a slow drip over time, because they have to wait for these bonds to reach maturity to get their principal back and whatnot. But still a lot of cash on hand. So 137 English reduction for both of those. Corporate bonds, Hyliion has a lot, equals 333 English ordinal, 135 reduction, 153 reverse reduction. And then we have United States Naval Office research contract with KARNO Technology, Hyliion stock, 333 English reduction. And right now, my cost per share is $1.30. Again, I was buying shares at 170 before it dropped off a cliff after it said it was going to stop its powertrain industry. But I was buying shares at 50 cents as well. So right now I'm up about 4.5%, $65 up. I have 1,000 shares. And again, this is one of these stocks where right now I'm just letting it sit. And when I want to sell in the future, I will do it with covered calls, covered call contracts where I sell them out, and then 100 lot here, 100 lot there. So that's my plan. Hyliion is still an exciting company, a lot of cash on hand, share buyback. They haven't used any of their dry powder yet. So I can only see the price going up once they regain compliance after this month. So I'm very excited about what they're doing.